Thanks. So as you mentioned, my name's Matt Haines. I'm the community manager at Electric Imp. So Electric Imp is a platform for building internet-connected hardware. So we're trying to empower people to build all of the connected fridges and egg trays and washing machines that we're going to have in our houses and everything else in the future. But this is also just about looking at how to build communities that don't necessarily focus specifically on technology. So a few years ago in my hometown, I was really sick of not having a hackerspace. I had started getting into electronics and I wanted to tinker some more. And I saw all of these great people around the world building communities around the things that they really loved. So I got together with some people and we started one. And it turned out to be sort of really lucky that I did this because while I was there, I discovered this thing called Electric Imp, which was this new product, and it let me build things that could connect to the internet. And while I was there and while I was tinkering with it, I found this great opportunity to help sort of take charge of their community and to try and build it out more. And so I moved from Canada to California, and the first thing that I did was I tried to look and figure out what the Electric Imp community was, and also what we wanted it to be. And this is something that we haven't really figured out yet, and I don't think any company totally knows this, and it's sort of an ongoing process, which is a really good thing. But so while we were thinking about what we wanted our community to be, we started looking sort of broadly at the hardware community, which is this big thing that everybody talks about. There's this idea that everybody who is part of a hackerspace or who does electronics is part of this monolithic community called the hardware community. And as we went through this and as we started looking at it, we realized that it didn't really exist. Well, it kind of does, but it's a community based around Arduino. And so that comes with a lot of sort of values and sort of preset notions of what that community is, what it's going to focus on, and how it's going to work. And that's not necessarily what we wanted our community to be, or necessarily what it was. And what we realized was that while building hardware like this is important, or an important step in building internet-connected hardware, it wasn't what we were interested in our community focusing on, or what we thought our community wanted to look at. So that, by the way, is a motor controller board, so it just helps you kind of like drive a bunch of different motors. So what we wanted to look at was what you could do with internet-connected electronics. So instead of just looking at how to build a motor controller board, how to control some set of electronics, we wanted people to build robots that shot fire, that you could drive from your browser, because that's really cool. When you do that, it's this like really inspirational thing. It's like, oh my God. Or this is basically an internet-connected LED. But it's hooked up to an API to know where the space station is. So when you get past just the technology and you look at what it enables, you can give people a sense of wonder just by turning on a light because of what that data represents. And these are the things that we wanted our community to focus on. Or printers that you could press a button to dispense happy feelings whenever you're feeling down. All of these devices have really, really simple hardware and really simple driver code for them. What makes them really inspirational and really interesting is everything except for that. It's what they've enabled people to feel and experience because of the hardware. So to really drive this point home, one time I made a button, just an internet-connected button. It was at a hackathon. And everybody was kind of like, that's weird. That's kind of not a thing you do at a hackathon. And while they were all laughing at my project, I was reverse engineering the Domino's API so that we could order pizza just by hitting a big red button. And so with all of these, it's not about the hardware or the code or anything else. It's about creating something new that can give you a completely new perspective on what's possible and what's going on in the world, about how we connect to technology and the data around us. And so software developers, most of us in the room probably, have this idea that hardware looks something like this. It's really scary, it's unapproachable, there's a lot of magic smoke, there's probably sharks in there somewhere, who knows. But in reality, most of the hardware that people are building nowadays is a lot simpler, and it's not the hardware that matters. So inside of fitness trackers, you'll find almost the same thing in all of them with slight variations. There are things to sense your movement, there's some kind of feedback mechanism, and some way to transmit it somewhere. The part that makes these products interesting is the services around them. It's being able to track sleep or change habits. Even for the most impressive hardware, things like the Microsoft HoloLens or Apple's Watch. You know, the most inspiring thing for me about the Apple Watch was being able to send your heartbeat to somebody else. The coolest parts about the HoloLens are being able to learn from people who aren't around you and have a hands-on experience from them. So they say we're in the middle of a hardware revolution, but when I go to events and I see people programming robots with JavaScript and Go, and just like playing with pre-built hardware and hacking on it, it's really obvious that this whole thing is not being driven by electrical engineers and by hardware hackers, it's by software developers. So there's this idea of the Internet of Things, which everybody's talking about, and I personally hate, because it makes it about technology. It makes it about this magical cloud in the sky. But the Internet of Things is really all of our community. It's every API who's here. It's every software developer. We're all building towards this new internet that just has things on it. So when you're thinking about your product and when you're thinking about your community, the thing that you really want to focus on is what it enables, not just how you do things. Thanks.